There we go. Hi everyone, it's Mr. Chris from Diary of A Lincoln Geek. Welcome to the show, Let's Talk Board Games, the board game show that everyone's talking about. Let's face it, we have the live show, we have the podcast, we have so much, it's amazing. But if you aren't already following us, then head over to the website, which is DOALG.co.uk, go to YouTube and hit that all-important notification icon so you know when we're doing our future shows. So, who have we got coming on the show today? Well, we have two amazing designers all the way from Board Game TikTok, all the way over in the US of A. We have Becky Young, the designer of Rainbow Bunny Bop, and we have Mondo Davis, the designer of Mansplaining. Yes, that's right, these two amazing designers are going to be here live on the show in just under a minute. So why don't you sit back, relax, maybe even grab yourself a drink, maybe even a snack, as we talk board games for the next 45 minutes or so with these two amazing designers in our live stream. Speak to you soon. The show will be starting in just under a minute. We'll speak to you soon. Hello, how is everyone? Welcome to episode 29 of Let's Talk Board Games. We're here with some amazing designers that are hot on TikTok at the moment. We've got Becky Young. Hi there, Becky.
Hello.
And we also have Mondo Davis. Hi there, how are you?
Hey, doing great. How are y'all?
Very good, very good. And of course, we've got my fellow host, Gregor, our podcast editor, down below.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. Sporting a rather cool shirt. Is that Cookie Monster, I see?
No, but it has. You'll like this unzipped.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh my
Fantastic.
God.
Was that your Halloween costume? Or I guess not, because Halloween's not big in the UK.
No. Well, it's big now, but it wasn't when I was a kid. So
sounds about right. It's big on my street. Is it big big over where you guys are? I know it is in America, but do you enjoy the holiday season?
Yes. Immensely.
Your eyes went wide, like, oh my god, don't.
You can't tell, but I cut my hair specifically for my costume this year. So.
Oh, what was the costume?
Commitment. Robin from Stranger Things in her.
Nice.
As her Scoops Ahoy.
Yeah. Love Stranger Things, and we love, let's face it, board games. Around holiday themes as well. While we're not talking about that, we had some very interesting topics going on the show and the channel on our Discord about some of our favorite board games at Halloween, and I'll lead into that. Before we go into the fact that what you design board games, what's your favorite Halloween board game you'd like to play?
I don't have a Halloween board game.
Oh.
But I do have a new favorite game. Can I?
Oh, right, go on then. What's your new favorite game? We'll let you have it.
Century Golem Edition, first edition of the Golem ones, the gems.
They're nice.
Yeah. Like, I think I can just play that game for the rest of my life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that game's great.
That's going to be a short show. Mondo, what about you? Do you have a favorite Halloween board game?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like spooky themes, I really love Skull. That's like a Dia de los Muertos theme.
Yeah.
So, not exactly Halloween, but yeah, it's about skulls and skeletons and stuff. So I love, that's like one of my favorite kind of play with non-gamers sort of games, because it's just so easy and accessible and tons of fun.
See,
So
that
that's
was
a really
the
good
game
one.
Chris named. That was the game that Chris named as his favourite Halloween game on
Yeah.
our podcast.
Oh,
episode.
nice. Great minds.
On topic.
Horrified's
And
also great too.
everyone else on the podcast had a go at him because it wasn't Halloween themed, and I agree. It's as Halloween themed as you're gonna get, really.
Yeah, but what game is actually Halloween themed? Like, not about like Halloween characters, but like Halloween, you know?
Yeah.
Taco Goat Cheese Pizza Halloween edition.
Yeah, like Ghost Loves Candy. That's a game about trick or treating. But I feel like when people talk about Halloween games, they're talking about like, you know,
Just
Horror
spooky
based.
stuff.
Yeah, because there's one on Kickstarter at the moment, which I'm sure the guys at Tinkerbot will be very glad that I mentioned. That's Haunticulture. That is live on Kickstarter at the moment, so if anyone wants to go check that out.
That is actually Halloween. I mean, we saw a sample of it at UK Games Expo, and there were lots of like pumpkins and ghosts and all that sort of thing. But I know that you've actually played it.
Yeah, I've played it, and I would say it's very Halloween themed in the fact that you are ghosts and ghouls digging and building a garden. So yeah, it's very, very, very well suited to Halloween. But you can actually play it all the way year round because it's just a great competitive game. And I'm sure that we're happy that we mentioned it because we did review it as well. So the official review is actually on the website if anyone wants to go check it out. But we're not here about that today. We're here about what things you guys have been doing. So obviously, for some people who aren't aware, not everyone that follows us on YouTube and the website may not follow us on TikTok, but may not know that we've got quite a following ourselves on TikTok as well as you guys. You guys are what I class as the I Ching of Board Game TikTok. You appear on the Board Game TikTok feed a lot, along with Jared and a few others like I'm trying to think, Kervin. He appears on my feed a lot as well. But I wanted to get you guys on the show because you have two very different perspectives from being on Board Game TikTok. Becky, you're quite new. You've designed your very first game, Rainbow Bunny Bop. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. First, probably only.
No, don't rule it out. But you never know. But you've done that one, and then in key to comparison with Mondo, where you've designed quite a lot of games, and your current game that's about to be publicized. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that Mansplaining?
Yeah, Mansplaining is expected to be out early next year. I've also got another game that should be hitting Kickstarter here, hopefully by the end of the year, called Colorfield. But those are the two that are kind of on the horizon.
So Becky, can you tell us, give us a very brief synopsis about Rainbow Bunny Bop and kind of how the idea came about?
Sure. It's actually it launched in 2018, so I've been doing it a while. Which is why I think I can only do one game because it's taking me this long and I'm still not really off the ground. But
I'm going to show it on screen so people can see what it looks like.
Cool. Yeah. That's perfect. So I don't have to hold it up. But yeah, it's just a super fast game. If you're familiar with Nerds or Dutch Blitz, it's kind of a similar vein, except for you're doing color order instead of number order, which is the challenge. So games are like 2 minutes long maximum. It's super fast. There's a lot of yelling, usually. Kids are much better than adults. Yeah, and it's the game. And I do everything. So, which is why it's, I don't have a huge roster of games coming out because I like to do all of the post-production. Yeah.
You like to be in control, do you?
I'm a marketer by trade. So like.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So being able to do all the marketing and all this kind of stuff is sort of like more my jam than coming up with game mechanics.
Ah, fantastic. And we'll come back to a little bit more in a moment. But Mondo, did you want to do the same about how you came about Mansplaining?
Yeah. So, I've been designing for about 6 years. Mansplaining is a game I started working on because I had the idea. I thought it'd be a fun theme to make a game about mansplaining. And I knew that as a white cisgendered man, I probably shouldn't make that game myself from my own, just my perspective. So I reached out to Tessa Elise, who's a friend of mine, a female designer that is just really talented. And we had kind of, we'd done playtesting and stuff like that before. So I knew that she'd be a pretty great partner in, a project like this. And so she was excited about the idea and we started working on it. And this was actually during COVID. The game was not play tested in person before it was signed. So when it was signed, it had only been play tested online, and it had been play tested a lot. Like we did a lot of play testing, but it's kind of a funny little COVID baby that came out of out of some effort. But yeah, it's a fun party game where I like to describe it as reverse taboo. So if you play taboo, where you have a word that you're trying to get people to guess a third word that you can't say, it's kind of the inverse of that. So you're trying to get people to guess a topic, but you're also trying to sneak words into your explanation without them being detected. So like you see on the screen, like existential and burrow, that might be two words that you have to fit into your mansplaination. And then afterwards, everybody's going to guess what the secret detail words were, and you as the mansplainer don't want them to guess them. So it turns out to be really funny because people are like getting these really wordy and verbose explanations, trying to sound really smart to include these sort of random obscure words. So it's a pretty fun one. We've had a lot of fun with it.
I will just plus that one. I had the pleasure of getting to play this with Fortessa, and a bunch of other people at a board game industry meetup in Seattle. And like we were in tears. People were just like, it was such a fun game. So I'm gonna like a hawk try to figure out when it comes out so I can get it from the shelves before it goes out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll be the first one. I'll say Rainbow Bunny Bob's a blast too. I got to play that last year at PAX, and a few times, but it's really fun too. So I'm happy to have my own copy.
Oh, that's always good because I was going to say, because obviously, of course, Becky, you're very, very different juxtaposition with your games, because Becky, yours is out and available for people to buy, isn't it?
Yeah.
People can order that from your website, can't they, as well as ordering it off some UK suppliers? Is that right?
Not in the UK.
Not in the UK yet. Oh,
no.
right,
I think when we first started talking about this, I was like, oh, let's put it off. It's a very small, compact game, and so like the financials just couldn't work to get it manufactured and with once distributor and shipping fees and everything else. It was like I was taking a negative number home. So
that's fair. But if anyone in the UK,
I was about to say that if there are any UK localizers that are looking for a fun rainbow themed game,
they can order it direct from you.
Well, no, I'm saying if there's publishers out there that want to localize it. I
think that is probably the better approach. And one day I will try and figure out how to like get those wheels in motion.
Sure. Well, look, if there is anyone, you never know, reach out to Becky. I'm sure she might appreciate any insight. If not, then if you'd like to order a copy of the game, you can go onto the website and do that, can't you? Am I right in question? I want to make sure I've got this right before I put it up there. rainbowrabbits.com.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, that's the one.
Also, cutie.
Hello.
And it's also on Amazon.
Yeah.
There you go. And you can order it on Amazon as well. Hello.
Good.
I came to ask if I could play in the basement.
Yeah, you can play. Okay. That's
only if you're going to play a board game.
That's all right. Only if you can play a board
from
game.
Your list.
That's an cute teddy bear. Okay, that's adorable. Did you by any chance get that from Jasper's artwork, did you?
We got this from Dollywood, actually.
Awesome.
All right, don't want to hijack the stream. Sorry.
No. It's fine. With regards to so I know obviously Becky, this is your first game. In comparison, Mondo, what was the first game you designed?
So the first game that I designed was in 2016. It was this very complicated, overwrought space-themed game about flying around space and picking things up and selling and buying and trading commodities. I got into board game design kind of from the back door. I wasn't a hobby gamer. I wasn't really familiar with the culture or the industry, but had an idea for a game. And so I started trying to make the game without really knowing anything about what games are or like. And the result was that I had this like really bad kind of exhausting thing that I worked on for a long time before I realized that, before I learned about how to make more interesting games. So it was called Bridges to Albion. There's a handful of people that have play tested it, but It's not around anymore.
It's not around.
It's not
Sounds
around
like
anymore.
Star Trek Outer Rim.
Papi,
Yeah.
what happened to the part of the shelf?
We can talk about it later. Okay, I'm gonna finish talking here and I'll come talk to you. Okay.
That's okay. That's all
All right.
good. Okay, that's interesting. If you had to go, would you go back to that game or would you drop it like a
No, it's dead. I have actually, within the last couple years, just picked it back up just to see, what are the chances of it still having something salvageable. And yeah, it's dead in the water.
Dead in the water. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it just too complex? Like there was just too many.
Yeah.
Or were you,
I think
not interested in it, or, like, the theme wasn't worth it.
Well, so the problem with this one, and I think what happens with a lot of new designers is, as I started to learn about games and started to play more games, I found things that I really loved in those games, and then wanted to include more and more things into my game. So it just ended up being this big kind of salad of mechanisms and ideas that was just too complicated and too difficult. So like the problem of trying to take that and strip it down into something cohesive, like it would just make more sense to, make something new, which is what I've done and what I've been doing for the last few years. But yeah, it's that happens a lot as a designer. Like you get to a point with designs where they're just not working and they're just not worth the effort, so you scrap them and you move on. Like that happens a lot. So that was the first game that I made and the first game that I scrapped and moved on from. So.
It is. Well, it looks like you've got a fan, Mondo, because Dalton says hello.
Oh yeah, hey Dalton. Good to see your comment.
Yeah,
I will say that I have tried to make other games and they've all gone to the scrap heap pile.
Are they things that you would pick up later, or is it like they are fully take out the trash, I'm done type?
Actually, they're probably all like they just need work. One of the games, it was about avalanches because my husband's a backcountry skier and he thought that a game that kind of like is educational about avalanches but also fun would be good. But he also wanted to be part of the design process, and he's like a pile on more ideas type of person, and I'm like a refine and reduce. So I think we have creative differences that will never be resolved.
That's never a bad thing.
I'm passionate about avalanches, so
you don't have to. I can see that. I can see it though. Taking things out and knowing when to drop things is important because I think that's been actually a topic of recently on Board Game TikTok is knowing when to say no to an idea and it's dead and it's come to the end and having that fine line is important. But that kind of leads me on to, for some people it may not be aware. You guys have been on Board Game TikTok for a little bit longer than I have. It's nice to see everyone enjoying the app and what the content that we'll make. But what's been one of your favorite things to come out of Board Game TikTok? And I'm going to put that to you first, Becky.
I think the juxtaposition between the community on Board Game TikTok and the communities sometimes on Facebook. On TikTok, everyone seems extremely supportive, and the dialogue is usually very, very positive, and it's sort of uplifting, and the notion of a rising tide rises all boats. It feels like this community of people who are trying their best to help each other out. And that's what I really, really like about it. On Facebook, it's a little more cutthroat and scary.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know necessarily, but you see there's just the pylons sometimes of it seems as though that community is a little more frustrated with maybe the newer people who are just trying to learn. They're sort of oh my God, how do you not know all these things? So I really like that on TikTok it's more of it just feels like more of a supportive and open community. I didn't join TikTok to talk about board games originally. I needed to learn how to use the tool for work.
Oh, right, okay.
And I, my first videos, which are now in private mode, typical TikTok, dancing and, things like that. So,
yeah, I've got some pretty dire moments on TikTok that I've either deleted or made private.
Yeah, I used to do. There's this Australian guy who used to do these things where he I won't be able to describe it. It was funny skits, and so like I would do these funny skits with my daughter, and we would just do the lip syncing. But yeah, all that's gone now. Sometimes I'll do a lip sync that's irrelevant just because I can't help myself. But
hey, look, I've been known to do a bit of lip syncing as well. To some things. So yeah, it's all good. It's all content, and let's face it, people engage with it and they enjoy it, and that's one of the things that I love about it. But what about you, Mondo? What would you take from your experience with Board Game TikTok?
I think so. I got on Board Game. I got on TikTok really because I saw a vacuum of specifically design-centered content. John Brieger was the only account prior to mine that exclusively talked about board game design. So I saw that as a cool opportunity to kind of start and foster some degree of community around board game design, because I really benefited from other platforms and from people participating in those other areas. So I've loved that. I love making connections with other designers. I love being able to share my experiences and provide advice and direction for people that are just starting out, and kind of contextualizing a lot of like what goes on in the design and publishing space for people that just aren't familiar with it and don't really know what's going on. So it's been very rewarding for me in that sense, as well as like the connections that I've made just again with people, but also with publishers and other people that are in the industry that are, have led to pitch meetings and have led to contracts and have led to things and opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So like TikTok has been really beneficial for me, both like in a professional sense, but also in the community and relationships that I've been able to build and see develop. So it's been great.
I'll echo that too. It's like it's the number one like direct to retail channel of like a retailer saying like, yeah, I want to carry the game. It's almost all from TikTok. Like I do outreach. I go to stores, but like the ones primarily that Rainbow Bunny Bop is in have been through the TikTok community, which is
that's awesome.
Really cool.
That is great, and I must admit myself, from being a content creator in the board game community, I will say a lot of the followers on TikTok will really tend to see my face until we got the live and the ability to port across the live show. And a lot of people have gone, hang on a second, you're not the only person that's Diary of a Lincoln Geek. And I go, well, no, because primarily the website reviews board games, and the guys like Gregor, who does reviews, he also does podcast editing. He is our podcaster in general. And then we've got Dan and George that work on doing the audio podcast as well. And then, of course, from that, you've got all the content that they don't see that I do on Board Game TikTok. And this kind of stuff that's come from that has been the engagement with people like yourselves, the engagement with Jasper from Pine Island Games. We wouldn't have had him on the live show talking about his Kickstarter and that, without, Board Game TikTok and other opportunities. We've had a lot of review opportunities come through it as well. It's incredible. I would say the two platforms that have been the most supportive and incredible that I wouldn't have pegged from day one was Twitter and TikTok. You're right, Becky. I'll agree with you on your points about Facebook. There are some times when I've thought, wow, some of these designers in the Facebook groups are kind of brutal. But when you're asking, for board game design tips and perspectives on something you've done, you kind of want that brutal cutoff. I tend to find that in a medium like this, you tend to do less of that, asking that that critical question, and you're more engaging with people about this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done, and people are just supportive, like you say. It's incredible.
Yeah,
and that's wild to me as well. That like Facebook is the one platform where everyone is supposed to use their real name, and it's like the most brutal and the most where everyone's at each other's. And yet you'll have like total strangers or people sitting behind a brand on TikTok or Twitter or whatever, who will just be the loveliest people you'll ever see.
Yeah, it is kind of strange that you'd think that the anonymity would lead to maybe less welcoming behaviors, but it seems to be the opposite. And I shouldn't like It's like I still participate in those Facebook groups because there are like the supportive people there. It's just sometimes the negative is a little bit louder.
I think it's also because Facebook is like closed groups, right? In exactly the same way that like you don't go on to, no developers ever go on Stack Overflow to write about how much they love JavaScript. It's usually JavaScript is broken and I don't know how to do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that sort of thing, I guess, apply. Whereas Twitter and TikTok are more likely where people are just using them anyway and coming across communities that share things that they're interested in, or just things that look cool, which board games often can be, because especially where's he gone?
You're on.
Yeah, board games often can be because they are inherently, usually they are shiny things. They come in lots of colours, especially. So that there's a lot of visuals to them. But my main question is, as a member of the DOLG team who has absolutely no idea what Chris gets up to on TikTok or anything about TikTok, really, all I really understand about TikTok is that it's short form video presented in one big long feed for people to just scroll through endlessly. How do you guys actually use it as board game designers?
I'll let Mondo take it first.
So the way I use TikTok, again, it's I approach it with a goal in mind, and that is to like reach the audience, and the audience for me is people that are brand new to board game design and want to either started their first design or have ideas for design and don't know how to get started and stuff like that. So when I make videos primarily with a focus of providing service and information for that person. And that's been helpful for me. I mean, I don't stick to that all the time. I mean, I have videos, that do kind of the things or look at specific games or whatever, but that sort of directive has been really helpful in just like me being able to knowing what I'm there for, and knowing why I'm there, and then making games or making videos that kind of fit that. So, that's my approach at least.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar. Yeah. But at the tail end, right? So if you are going to take the self-publishing route and you need to know some things about the basics about Amazon or ads or whatever, I try to talk about that side of the business and what I've learned, and just one person, and I have small budgets, but I think just being able to share that type of information is good. I haven't been able to share a lot lately because I got a new job that's a lot more time intensive. So I have a laundry list of things that I had promised I would write about or do videos about that I've never gotten around to filming. So mostly around getting set up on Amazon, because I think a lot of people are right now in that stages of Kickstarter's done. They've got their overflow, they've got their overflow. They don't know what to do. And they're trying to weigh, do I do website and do Facebook ads? Or do I try to go onto a retail site like Amazon, and the pros and cons of doing both of those things? Both of them are going to eat up all your money.
Yeah. So. I'm going to go out there and ask the question, because while I may know, others may not know who are watching. So you say overflow. What do you mean when you're referring to overflow?
So if you did a Kickstarter, but you told your manufacturer, let's make 5,000 because your cost per game goes way down. But your Kickstarter only really needed 2,000 to fulfill. So you've got another 3,000 that you need to somehow get out of your storage unit. And, for some people that they've got storage. I have a closet.
Yes, I've seen the infamous closet on TikTok.
By the way, that closet, so I live upstairs from the road. So there's to get into the house, there's stairs, and then the closet is downstairs. So I carry those boxes from the street, up the stairs, down the stairs, and then I go back and I get one more box up the stairs, down the stairs. So
wow, your step count must be through the roof.
My what? My step count? Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that having Becky and I on here is cool because, you know, I'm on a very specific side of board game production, and she's on a very, you know, different side of board game production. So I feel like I'm referring people to Becky all the time on TikTok when they are trying to self-publish or trying to do a Kickstarter, because I don't have any experience with any of that. So I'm like, you know, I think that we pair up pretty well as far as like who our audience is, and we're able to kind of send each other, like send people back and forth.
Yeah, it's like there's the two parallel paths you can take. You know, you can have your game, you don't need to get it super polished, but like good enough to intrigue a publisher, or you can go soup to nuts and just do the whole thing on your own. Takes different personalities, I think. I do hope that one day we get to the point though where you can do a Kickstarter and that doesn't negate you from being able to be like seen by publishers as a viable game to pick up. I think sometimes it happens, but those are the outliers. And I still can't wrap my head around why that is. I've even been told by publishers, they're like, you know, what makes you think, oh, you did a Kickstarter, what makes you think you're going to sell 2,000 games in the next 3 months? I'm like, well, because I've put on all this work, so I'm going to make sure I sell 2,000 games in the next 3 months. But there is this perception that like, once you do your Kickstarter, like that's it. That's your audience.
Your Kickstarter is the total potential audience for your game.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not like, it's like this much of the huge pie of, like, you know how many people live in the United States of America? Do you know how many grandmas live in the United States of America? I will be happy when we're at like 50,000, and that's like a drop in the bucket. So, yeah.
I was going to ask, because I know you mentioned earlier about the fact that you mentioned in passing that you write the videos. So how much of the content that you put on TikTok is like scripted stuff that you've worked on, and how much of it is just I've got a phone camera and I've got a game, let's go?
Ooh. I think I did more scripting before. My monthly recaps are scripted because I need to make sure I hit all the data points that I said I was going to hit. I would say like anything that's more on the educational side of things, I'll write out what I want to say. I don't follow it exactly, but it helps me stay focused, because then I will ramble if I don't. But there's also like the just shoot from the hip. Like I think I shared my prototype yesterday, and I was just like 3 takes, because it's hard to like get all the talking points in, but usually it's easier just to try to 3 takes to get everything in rather than writing it out.
Yeah, I saw your prototype as well. Crikey, it was quite thick.
Yeah.
Back
it's
when you know, is it? Yeah, because it's close to your heart because it's the original prototype. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember Mondo. So there was a topic that came up on a board game TikTok, and I think quite a few of us, piped up on this, this immensely popular topic of when to deck, sleeve your cards in your games, and I loved your response, Wills. And correct me if I get it slightly wrong, but I'm a board game designer, and I have all my games designed and they're in sleeves, and you literally go through this binder of all your original kind of concepts, and everything's in sleeves.
Yeah,
I think your team sleeves, right?
Well, it's funny because that's a good example of like what I try to do on TikTok, because like the question was like these, the published games, like do you sleeve those, and that's what everybody was weighing in on. So I tried to approach that question as a designer, and kind of, like that was the focus of my response, was like, here's, as a designer, like I sleeve everything that I design, every prototype I have, specifically because there's like, a good way to do that that's convenient and easy to kind of reproduce and do a lot at once. So but like these games back here, most of them aren't sleeved. I've got a couple that are, so, but as it, like every single one of my prototypes is, and probably always will be, just because that's the easiest way to do it.
And Becky, I think you weighed in on team sleeves because your prototype was sleeved. Is that right?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm no sleeves.
You're no sleeves.
I tried the Avalanche prototype with sleeves because I was following Mondo's guidance, but and they'll probably stay sleeved, I guess. Someone else sent me a prototype and I put theirs in sleeves, but then I took it out because I don't want to keep buying sleeves, so I took everything out of those sleeves to put new things in.
Well, this is the thing. As great as sleeving games is, it's almost as expensive to sleeve the games as it is to buy the game in the first place, I think, sometimes.
Yeah,
you have to
there's a
find,
fine
you gotta
line,
find
isn't
cheap
there?
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll be able to find good sales on sleeves too. So I never buy sleeves at full price. I always find them when they're on clearance or something like that. So that's how I do it. But yeah, it's not cheap.
No, it's not
An
cheap.
extra added expense.
I mean, I must admit, I would say I'm team sleeves, and I've said it online multiple times, but I obviously went down the line of unless you design your game like Roxley did and Radlands, where it doesn't need sleeves. But I tend to find if there's a game I play regularly, then it will get sleeved because I don't want regular play damaging that game because I've invested the money in that game, especially when the card stock may not be as good. So, what about you, Gregor? What team do you sit on?
I've never bought a card sleeve. I only really got introduced to it when I became part of the DOALG team. But yeah, no, I've never sleeved a card, and I don't really understand. I don't really understand the argument for doing it. I don't know. No one's ever really spoken about it to me. But like, I understand the idea that you'd want to protect it if you play a game a lot. But I don't think I've ever played a game so much where I've physically permanently damaged the card.
Yeah.
In that game.
I have with Battlestar Galactica because we wore out Dan's first copy.
Yes, but also you, with the greatest respect, you did not really look after that game in the early days, as I understand it, because the board also had to be replaced 3 times. Is that?
That is true. That is true.
So, like, yeah, I feel like usually if I'm playing a game, unless it's like a really portable game, I'm usually I try and make sure that it's in an environment where like the table is clean and that nothing's going to get spilt on it or whatever. And so then, other than general hand dirt, most of the time your cards are going to be all right. Really, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
We can't see the comments from TikTok on the stream, but I've had a comment from I Am Karina. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. He says he thought he was going to miss it. He says hi, and he's enjoying the show, and he sent us a ton of likes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, David.
Tell him that his new beard is very awesome.
Yeah. Well, he can hear you. It's just that we can't see his comments.
It was like, did I miss a year did I just what happened?
Maybe he just wasn't hitting your For You page.
Like a full Rumpelstiltskin.
I must admit, if it's anything like mine can grow back really quickly, and then I do a factory reset, and then I'm like this again. And this is just like one day of not shaving. It goes so quick, it's crazy.
Sounds quick.
So
same.
Yeah.
It wasn't a filter you used on TikTok.
No,
it was a real thing.
I have to say, I get sucked into those stupid filter things. I don't usually post them a lot, but I think I make a very handsome man.
They are fun, and the thing is, that's another thing with the board game TikTok is there are elements of fun that you can apply to something. I mean, I'd love to have the ability on this within StreamYard, and I've proposed it to StreamYard to have filters like that over different cameras, so you can have something a bit more fun and engaging as part of your stream. So that's one thing I do miss from TikTok with other streaming platforms. So take heed, StreamYard. We'd like some filters, please. Yeah, I'd love to be able to stick, like a clown nose on Gregor's face right now.
Shirt, innit?
The shirt does it.
Yeah. And I was going to ask as well. So I know you said that about the fact that TikTok, having a game be popular on TikTok means it's more likely to get picked up by publishers. Do you find it's the same for games when you kickstart games? Is there a lot of conversion from when you make a video and people go, "Oh yeah, that looks cool," and I'll go and back it on Kickstarter, or is it more of a place to get picked up by publishers?
I don't know if I have any data on that. That might be a Jasper.
Yeah.
I do know that once Danny Standring posted about Rainbow Bunny Bop, and my Amazon sales like went through the roof that I sold out in the warehouse. So then all the sales were coming to me, which was like, I was like just packing things for a while. So like there's definitely like some people who have that special ability to like convert in the moment. But I wouldn't say I think that's probably atypical and not the standard. I don't know if Mondo, you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I none of my games are in the market, so but I have had conversations with folks on the publishing side of things, and I know that like the accounts that are, I mean, like Danny's one of them, and Grant Lyon, and TikTok Board Games, and Raina. Like there's giant accounts that have hundreds of 100,000 or more followers, and I think that when those folks feature a game and it goes viral and it gets like 1 million views, which happens, I'd say probably a couple times a month. I mean, I don't have data either, but then yeah, like sales are reflected in that. I know that like the Op, I have a friend who works at the Op, which is a publisher, and they have this game called Tapple, which was kind of just an averagely successful game, but it's been featured on a few different TikTok accounts and has had millions of views on those videos, and they've sold out, and they're having to like scramble to get more copies out for manufacturers because the sales are so high. So I think that there's potential for TikTok to have a really big impact. I know that that happens, I think, more or less exclusively with those really big accounts. But yeah, it can happen, and it does happen. But yeah, and I don't know of anybody that, I guess like Doomlings would be an example. But so Doomlings started doing a lot of marketing through folks like us, just sending us copies of games and asking us to review it as the Kickstarter was wrapped up and they were, printing or whatever. And since then they've done a lot of actual paid advertising on TikTok. So I'll see their ads all the time. Yeah, constantly. A lot.
I know. And they need to turn their frequency down.
Well, it's funny because I think that like and Becky, this might be true for you too, but my feed is so niche that like if there's a board game advertisement that is being put onto TikTok, like I will see it, and I will see it 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's not that many of us relatively. But
I do try to aggressively like different types of content on TikTok so that my For You is not so insular board gamey. Because it does start to feel some days like it's all the same.
Yeah.
So how often is content made on TikTok? Like I have no idea. I've literally done.
I think it depends on the person. Like Jasper, I think posts like 5 times a day. Jared posts like 20 times a day. Like so there's people that are like, it's like basically they're just walking around all day long with their phones. Like they post 20 times and then they'll also go live.
But then you've also got that alongside the board game design stuff. You've got Jared, and then a little bit done by Mondo, and a few others do also board game thrift talk as well, don't they?
Well,
you're talking about board game thrifting.
We all know
the controversy.
I must admit that was funny.
Not you too.
Mondo was accused of planting games in places.
I saw video evidence of Mondo doing it.
You saw nothing.
When we say board game thrifting, are we talking about just going to like charity shops and?
Yeah. So I have always loved thrift stores, and as I've gotten into board games, I've enjoyed looking for board games at thrift stores or charity shops, as y'all would say.
Sorry.
So I made videos. I don't know that I was the first, but there's a few of us that do it where just regularly we just make videos of the stuff we find at thrift stores. So at some point somebody was, I guess Alex
the president.
Yeah, board games, right? I don't know if I want to reveal this, but we kind of collaborated on a joke, and she started this rumor that I planted those board games that I found at thrift stores, and it kind of started this whole little month.
It was hilarious. It was
people
so much
weighing
fun.
in on whether or not my thrift finds were genuine or not, which they are. I will say
they are
100%. I've never planted anything.
Okay, then. So I'm going to ask you a last question, and then what's the most recent game you found through board game thrifting?
Yeah. So I guess it was this week. I found this one. Still got the tag on it. Last Night on Earth.
Oh, okay.
You see, it's got the tag on it. $4.09 as is. This is a zombie game it's pretty old. The artwork is terrible, but it's actually rated decently on Boardgame Geek. So I was excited to find something like that.
Fair dues.
I think
There you go.
Pretty sure Pete mentioned that as one of his Halloween games as well.
I think he did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it. It's complete, which I was surprised because there's so many pieces in there. So you can never be too sure, but it had all the pieces, so that was good.
Fair dues.
I've only tried to go to the thrift store once to look for board games, and all I found was Monopoly Deal, which I bought. And then
I go a lot. I go,
which is like, it's a game that's already like $2 at Walmart, so like probably not a fine.
Right. Just get a sealed copy, right?
Yeah. Well, Monopoly Deal's got a little bit of a following here in the UK, and there's a designer on the Facebook groups. I'm trying to remember his name right now, and I can't remember it. But he's played it in a tournament scene, and he's designed a game that uses similar mechanics to Monopoly Monopoly that we just mentioned, and it's based on social media. So it should be interesting. I think he's bringing it to Kickstarter soon, actually. So might be one to keep an eye out.
When's he coming on the show, Chris?
Sorry?
When's he coming on the show?
I'm not sure, actually. There was a discussion to maybe get him on the show sometime, so maybe I might have to follow that up with him. I was supposed to catch up with him at UK Games Expo in the Designers Hall, but we were so busy at Expo, it was crazy here in the UK. So, I mean, one of our biggest conventions, I would say, is UK Games Expo here in the UK. And I know, obviously, you guys have, Gen Con in the US, but which is the biggest one in the US?
Is that a question? Because
Gen Con. It is Gen Con. I thought it was, but I just wanted to
Gen Con's the biggest
confirm.
board game exclusive convention. I mean, there's like Chicago Toy Fair or New York Toy Fair and Chi-Tag, and there's other like toy and game conventions that I think are probably bigger, but Gen Con's the biggest of the board game cons. Yeah.
Well, I thought it was, but because it's on my bucket list to go. I've never been to America. I really want to go, and Gen Con is one of the things I want to do while I'm there, just to experience it.
Yeah,
so,
I hope you get to someday.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I feel like I've got
all the way across to the west side to Washington. There is a huge concentration of all those people you've talked about on TikTok live in Seattle, which is probably the wildest thing. It's just like Alex is here, Ben from Crow's Nest, Fortessa is here. They're all just here. And so,
Seattle's
and now we hang out in real life, which is interesting.
That's amazing. Awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, I think Seattle seems to be the place to go, doesn't it? I'll add that to the bucket list. Ding!
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm very conscious aware that I don't even know where that time's gone. To be completely honest, I'm sorry. I may even have to get you guys back on the show some other time to talk some more, because I genuinely have enjoyed chatting to you. Like I say, it's just disappeared well, it's gone. It's crazy.
Kind of
crazy
a good
quick
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is nice. What I will say is there's a last chance for anyone who does want to go and check out Becky and Mondo's games. They are on screen now. So Becky's is Rainbow Bunny Bop. You can order it directly from her website if you'd like. I'm sure which will be greatly appreciated when I can get to the banners, because all of a sudden stuff decides to not want to work. There we go. So the website's there. Go check it out. It's rainbowrabbits.com. And of course, the same thing regarding Mondo's. Of course, his is not Rainbow Bunny Bop, because that's the last thing. I want to get those mixed up. But I'm sure he wouldn't mind be affiliating. But that's his. That's mansplaining right there. And that's going to be coming. When did you say that's going to be hopefully landing?
January is the current plan.
Yeah.
So,
is this going straight to publication, or is it going to be crowdfunded as well? Or is it...
this one will be straight to retail. So hopefully in January. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you know if it's going to be in retail here in the UK as well?
I don't. So we're doing an initial print run that's like a smaller print run with the hope of having a secondary print run by mid 2023. So I think this first print run will only be in the United States, but the second printing should be worldwide. So
okay, that's good.
Might have to wait a bit, but yeah.
All right. Well, look, it's been really great. It's nice to, again, like I said, to have you on the show. Hopefully, we'll maybe get you on again in the new year and have a bit of a follow-up chat if you guys are up for that. What I would suggest is anyone in the meantime, if you aren't on TikTok and you're intrigued by the board game community, then do join it if you're into that kind of thing and you want to get involved. And I think you'll be very welcome. And there's lots of amazing content on there, so go ahead and do that. In the meantime, please obviously remember that we are on all the social media platforms, not just TikTok. We actually have our own website, which is DOALG.co.uk. So feel free to go and check that out. Of course, you can also get to it if you like typing things a little bit longer. That's diaryofalinkinggeek.com. And if you have on a Discord and you like to use that, we have that too. And that's also available through the website. That's a complicated thing to type in. Just go to the website and find it.
There's a little it's easy.
Yeah, it is easy. It's so good. And of course, we are also launching our Ko-fi and Patreon. So if you love what we do and you'd like to support us, then please obviously go and check those out. You can either buy us a cup of coffee or you can even subscribe, because we're going to be having some interesting content coming to it in the new year. So now's the time to join, because there'll be some content awesome kicking into it for us. Again, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on the show. Gregor, have I missed anything?
No, they'll have heard it all before anyway. It's all on the website.
Yeah, exactly. And also, do us a favor, hit that like and that all-important subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel. We appreciate it. I'm going to end the show with a trailer for a game that's coming to Kickstarter. And I want to say thank you all very much. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and keep gaming, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, I thought you were off, Mondo. Cheers, mate. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're off. We're gone.
All right, bye.